You sent the text 3 days ago. Something like, "Hey, would love to catch up soon. Let me know when you're free." And now you're checking the conversation again, not because you expect a reply, but because the silence has started to mean something. You're doing the math. They saw it. They haven't responded, but they've posted stories. They've been online, and somewhere in that gap between your message and their silence, a story is forming. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they don't want to see you, and this is how they're letting you know. That's the thing about "let me know." It feels like an open door, but what it actually creates is a waiting room, and you're the one sitting in it, watching the clock, wondering if anyone's coming. This video is about why saying "let me know" is quietly killing your relationships. Not in dramatic ways, not in confrontations or blow-ups, but in the slow, almost invisible way that things just stop happening. Plans that never form, connections that never deepen. People who used to be close becoming people you used to know. And the strange part is, you thought you were being polite. Let me show you what happens when that phrase lands on the other side. You get a message from someone. They want to hang out. They end with "let me know." And now, without either of you realizing it, they've handed you a job. You have to figure out when you're free. You have to propose something. You have to be the one who moves things forward. And if you're tired or busy or even slightly uncertain about whether they actually want to see you or are just being courteous, you're not going to do that job. You're going to leave the message sitting there. Maybe you'll reply with something vague. Maybe you'll mean to get back to it and forget. And weeks later, you'll both have a memory of a conversation that almost became a plan, but never did. The phrase survives because it disguises itself as consideration. It sounds like you're giving someone space. But space, when it comes to plans, is usually just another word for distance. What you're really saying is, "I'm interested enough to mention it, but not enough to make it easy for you to say yes." I did this for years. There was someone I genuinely wanted to stay close to after we stopped working together. Every few months, I'd text something like, "We should grab lunch sometime. Let me know if you're ever around." She'd say, "Yeah, definitely." And then nothing. I told myself she was busy. I told myself the ball was in her court. But the ball was in her court because I put it there. I made her responsible for the next step, then blamed her when she didn't take it. The truth is, I was scared. Scared that if I proposed something specific and she said no, I'd have to feel that. I'd have to know where I stood. "Let me know" was my way of reaching out without reaching. I got to feel like I tried without ever risking rejection. That's not generosity. That's armor. If I sent that message now, I'd write something like, "I'm around Tuesday or Thursday this week if either works. Would love to see you." Same intention, but now I've done the work. I've made it easy to say yes. And if she says no or doesn't respond, at least I know. At least the ambiguity ends. Here's where it gets interesting. The people who use "let me know" the most are often the ones who hate receiving it, because they know what it feels like. They know the quiet calculus of trying to figure out if someone actually wants to see them or just felt obligated to offer. They know the low-grade anxiety of being the one who has to follow up, and how following up can feel like begging for someone's time. And yet, they keep doing it. Because the alternative, being direct, feels vulnerable in a way they haven't practiced. There's a version of this in dating that's almost comical. Someone goes on a good date, maybe great, and at the end they say, "We should do this again. Let me know when you're free." And the other person walks away, unsure whether that was a real invitation or a polite exit line. So they wait, and the first person waits. And both of them are interested, but neither wants to be the one who shows it first. Two people, both hoping the other will take the risk they're unwilling to take themselves. That's the math of "let me know." It's mutually assured ambiguity. In families, the phrase works differently, but does similar damage. A parent texts their adult child, "Let me know if you need help moving." It sounds supportive, but what it often means is, I'm offering in a way that lets me feel good without actually committing to anything. The child hears, "I'll help if you make it convenient for me," and they don't ask. Not because they don't need help, but because asking feels like a burden. The offer was too soft to accept. At work, "Let me know your thoughts" is its own species. It usually means I need something from you, but I'm pretending I don't. Or sometimes I disagree with you, but I'm not going to say it directly. It creates a strange dynamic where the person receiving it has to guess how urgent it is, how much pushback is welcome, whether this is a genuine request for input or a test they're supposed to pass. Group chats might be the purest example. Someone throws out an idea, a trip, a dinner, a party, and then adds, "Let me know if you're in." Silence. Because nobody wants to commit first. Everyone's waiting to see who else responds, gauge how serious it is, figure out if the thing is actually happening or just being floated. The message becomes a collective psychology experiment. 8 people, all interested, all waiting, all watching the thread and hoping someone else goes first. Eventually someone says, "That weekend might be tough for me," which gives everyone permission to bail, and the plan dies. Not because nobody wanted it, but because nobody wanted to want it out loud. There's a defense of this phrase that sounds reasonable. You're just trying not to be controlling. You're just giving people room. You're just being respectful of their time and autonomy. And sure, in certain contexts, leaving things open makes sense. If someone's going through a crisis and you offer support, "Let me know if you need anything" is appropriate. You don't want to impose structure on someone else's grief or stress. That's real. But the problem is when that same phrase becomes your default. When it's how you end every invitation, every offer, every expression of interest. When it's no longer about respecting someone's space and has become about protecting your own. There's a particular personality that gravitates toward "let me know" like it's oxygen. They want connection, they want closeness, but they've learned, somewhere along the way, that wanting things too openly is dangerous, that being too eager is embarrassing, that enthusiasm can be used against you. So they pad everything. They wrap every offer in plausible deniability. If they say, "Let me know," and nothing happens, they can tell themselves it wasn't really rejection. They can say they tried without having to admit they failed. But here's the hidden cost. When you always leave the door half open, people stop walking through it. Not because they don't want to see you, but because they can't tell if you want to see them. Your constant flexibility starts to look like indifference. Your politeness starts to feel like distance. And after a while, people just stop trying. They assume you're not that interested. They find other people who are clearer, warmer, more obviously present. And you're left wondering why nobody ever reaches out anymore, when the truth is, you trained them not to. The opposite exists too. People who say, "Let me know," because they genuinely don't want to take up space. They've been told they're too much, too intense, too needy. So they make themselves as small as possible in conversations. They ask for things apologetically. Every invitation comes with an escape hatch. No pressure, only if you want. Totally fine if not. They think they're being considerate, but what the other person hears is, "I'm not sure I deserve your time, so I'm making it easy for you to say no." That's not attractive. That's not even kind. It's just anxious. And anxiety, when it shapes how you communicate, creates the very distance it's afraid of. Then there's the control version. The "let me know" that has nothing to do with politeness and everything to do with options. You're not sure if you want to commit to this plan. You're waiting to see if something better comes up. You're keeping the door open in case a more interesting offer walks through. So you say, "Let me know," which keeps you in the game without requiring you to play. You get to seem available without being accountable. And the other person can feel it. They might not name it, but they feel it. They feel like they're on a wait list. And eventually, they stop putting themselves on it. Here's the thing. Clarity isn't pushy. Specificity isn't aggressive. Saying, "I'd love to see you. Does Thursday or Saturday work?" isn't demanding. It's kind. It's the kindest version of an invitation because it does the work for the other person. It says, "I actually want this. I've thought about it, and I'm making it easy for you to say yes." That's not pressure. That's care. The real pressure is ambiguity. The real weight is being handed a vague offer and having to figure out if it means anything. Every time you make someone guess your intentions, you're asking them to spend emotional energy. You're asking them to interpret, to wonder, to follow up, or risk letting it die. And people have limited reserves of that energy. They spend it on people who are clear. They save it for relationships where they know where they stand. You can tell how healthy a relationship is by how much guessing it requires. If you're constantly trying to decode someone's level of interest, constantly wondering whether their invitations are real, that's exhausting. It's not fun. And over time, you stop doing it. You stop reaching out to people who make you feel like you're chasing them. Not because you don't care, but because caring starts to feel like work. What would change if you stopped saying, "Let me know"? First, you get more honest data about your relationships. Some people would say yes, some would say no. Some would stop responding entirely. But at least you'd know. At least the ambiguity would end. You'd stop sitting in that waiting room wondering if someone was coming. You'd either be with them or you'd be free. Second, the people who do show up would show up differently. When you're clear about wanting to see someone and they say yes, that yes means something. It's not a maybe. It's not a vague intention that might dissolve. It's an actual plan made by two people who both decided to be there. That's the foundation of a real connection. Not flexibility, not keeping options open. Mutual decision. And third, you'd start to feel differently about yourself. There's something that happens when you stop hedging, when you stop padding every invitation with escape routes. You start to take up space in your own life. You start to act like someone whose time and desires matter. And other people respond to that. They trust it. They respect it. They want to be around it. The phrase won't disappear. It's too woven into how people talk now. But maybe the next time you're about to type it, you'll pause. You'll notice the impulse. And you'll ask yourself whether you're offering something real or just performing the gesture of offering. Whether you're inviting someone in or giving yourself a way out. Because people don't remember the invitations you almost made. They don't cherish the plans you left to them to figure out. What they remember is the moment someone said, "I want to see you. Here's when I'm free." The moment it felt clear that they mattered enough for someone to take a small risk. That's what stays. That's what builds something. And it starts with retiring 4 words that have done enough damage already. Not because they're evil, just because they become a way of hiding. And hiding, no matter how polite it sounds, is still a way of leaving.